Oi, lads.
Alright, green cards. Green, green, green. So at the moment in Standard, green is not only the worst individual colour in Standard, but maybe the worst individual colour in Standard for the entire time that I've played Magic. Maybe. I can't remember a single colour ever being worse at any point of the when I've played this game. It is absolutely unplayable. It's crazy how bad it is. So it's going to take a lot of work to fix green. I am not convinced that one set's worth of cards can fix green, but prove me wrong, Wizards. Alright, Nissa, Ascended Animist, 7/6 or 5 mana for 7/5 or 3 loyalty. Create a pleb, destroy an artifact or enchantment, or buff the team. She just seems like trash, no? I don't understand it. Doesn't line up well against Invoke. Like if you're actually casting her for 5, which is obviously what you want to do most of the time, you get a 4/4 token? I mean, man, who cares? The creature doesn't even grow as your loyalty grows. Destroy artifact or enchantment for a -1 is useful, but it's not amazing by any means. I mean, I would say it's almost to the point where you actually can't cast her for her with using her Phyrexia mana. You can't play a 5 mana planeswalker that just makes a 4/4. That's worse than Wrenn and 7, and Wrenn and 7's unplayable. You can't cast her for Phyrexian mana to kill a Fable, for example, because she's only got 3 loyalty, so she goes down to 2, you kill the Fable, and she dies to the Fable token. So you've spent 2 extra mana to give them a treasure and a token. And you've paid 4 life as well. She's the -1 on a wedding announcement is not bad. It's a lot better than using it on a Fable at least. Tyrranax Rex. Fat Dino. 8/8 can't be countered. Trample, Ward, Haste, Toxic 4. Kinda unplayable, I would say. It's a sideboard card against a deck that doesn't exist. Blue-white control. I will be, honestly, blue-white, like, control decks are so terrible. I would be shocked if there is ever a control deck ever again. I don't mean a control deck in the next set. I mean in the next set, or the next one, or the next one, or the next one, or the next one. Clearly, over the past 3 to 4 years, Wizards have made it clear that they hate combo decks and they hate control decks. So if you're expecting there to be tons of those in the future, you are going to be disappointed. Because, let me tell you, when 80% of the Arena player base are just, like, folks sitting on their phone on the train to work playing 2 games of best of 1, Wizards do not want any of those people to ever play against a control deck or a combo deck. They want it to be mono white versus Golgari. The game lasts 7 minutes, and then the guy gets off the train and goes to work. The control decks don't exist. This is an anti-control sideboard card. Its existence is pointless. It will never see play. It's trash. And if you spend any Mythic Wild cards on it to craft even a solitary copy, you must be a fucking billionaire, because you're setting your money on fire. I'll craft it to become a billionaire. So that's a good strat. Ixalan is coming and cares about dinos. Okay, my bad. Tyrranax Rex is a staple in Ixalan Dino Tribal that will be incoming in a matter of months. The sun will rise and the sun will set, chat. Just let that happen 100 or so times, and then Tyrranax Rex will be the thumbnail of your Dino Tribal. Soon. Zopandrel, Hungerer Dominus. 7 mana, 4/6 reach. At the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. Sacrifice 2 other creatures. 2 in-play creatures. Bro, why is this thing 7 mana? Isn't this is like a 4-drop. This is a 4 mana creature. It costs the same amount as a Titan. Seems horrible. I'm pretty confident in stating that. Bloated Contaminator, 3 mana 4/4 trample, toxic 1. When it deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. This seems really bad too, I think. 3 mana, 4/4, I mean, that's whatever. 4/4 is normal stats for a 3-drop if it's got no text. This has no text. It's useless, right? No ETB, no death trigger, not even overstated. Just, it doesn't do anything. Conduit of Worlds. You may play lands from your graveyard. Choose target non-land permanent card in your graveyard. If you haven't cast a spell this turn, you may cast that card. If you do, you can't cast additional spells this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. It's a cool card, but I mean, it's mega slow, huh? I don't know what my opponent's doing where they're letting me get away with this robbery of casting this spell. And any opponent that lets me use this to beat them was not a worthy adversary. That's all I'm saying. I shouldn't even have been matched against them, chat. They don't belong in my part of the ladder. Evolved Spinoderm. 4 mana, 5/5. Enters, but I wish it was good though, because it does seem fun as hell to use. Enters the battlefield with 4 oil counters on it. Has trample as long as it has 2 or fewer oil counters, otherwise it has hexproof. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove an oil counter from Spinoderm, then if it has no oil counters on it, sacrifice. This seems really bad too, I think. Even this one lines up badly against Shelly. I mean, they just... 5/5 is pretty decent against the white creature decks, but... I don't know, man. Wait, like, you don't... Eventually it sacks itself, right? If you're playing against some sort of white aggro deck, I don't think you're going to win fast enough, man. Especially with all their dumbass, like, you know, chump cards that they've got. Token generators. You can't use this against any black decks. It just seems terrible. The sack part is just so unnecessary, man. This thing would... I don't even think it would be that good even if it didn't sack itself. Even if it didn't sack itself, it's just a random creature. Goliath Hatchery enters the battlefield. Excuse me. Create 2 3/3s. It's way too much mana. Reveal top X+1 cards of your library. Choose a creature card and or a land card from among them. Put those cards into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. If X is 5 or more, instead put the chosen cards onto the battlefield or into your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So for 3 mana, you maybe draw 2 cards. For 4 mana, you probably draw 2 cards. For 5 mana, you definitely draw 2 cards. And for 6 mana, you put 2 cards into play. Seems kind of horrible, but maybe not. It doesn't, like, if you have any intention at all of using this for less than X=5, it seems pretty bad at all costs. So you've got to be playing a deck where you want to do 5 or more, which means you also want to be playing a deck where you're aiming to have 6 mana. You also want to have 6 mana regularly in games. You also want to cast it for X=5 and have creature targets in your deck that cost more than 5. For example, Titan of Industry. But you also need to be playing a deck where you can actually hard cast the Titans, otherwise, because you can't rely on using this. And once you start going through all of those hoops, you realize that there's just not enough cards in a Magic deck to justify using any of the slots on cards like this, right? So for example, you're playing some Teamer Titan pile or something, right? So you've got your Titans in your deck, you've got 27 lands in your deck, that's 31 cards down the drain, you've got 29 cards left to play with. You need 10, 12, 14 2-mana cards. You've got like 10 cards left. You need 4 Fables so that you can ramp the Titan and cast it, hard cast it, or even to hard cast cast your Twilight. You're going to realize that Green Sun's Twilight, excuse me, despite the fact that you're trying to build a Green Sun's Twilight deck, this card is actually the 61st card in your deck, so you just cut it and play your normal cards. And that's kind of the problem with most cards like this, and unless they are obviously broken, and there have been some obviously broken ones in the past. Maybe the most recent one was was it the Jeskai Ultimatum? No, it was the Teamer Ultimatum. But even then, even the Teamer Ultimatum was kind of worse than the Sultai one, right? So I think this is This is a decent card that will not find a slot in any deck. Thrun, Breaker of Silence. 5 mana, 5/5. This spell can't be countered, trample, it can't be the target of non-green spells your opponents control or abilities from non-green sources your opponents control. As long as it's your turn, it has Indestructible. 5 mana, 5/5 random creature. This thing sucks, man. This is just a random creature. It's driving me insane. It's 5 mana and it loses the trade with Shelly. It can be edicted, it can be invoked. It's not good enough, man. It's a decent card. It is a decent card. I don't want you to think that I'm saying this card is bad. It's decent, but this is the wrong era of Magic for cards like this. This is it's an anti-control card again. It's absolutely horrible against mid-range decks. And it's the mid-range era. To be honest, it's not even that good against control decks either, to be honest. If your opponent's deck has any Shellies in it, your deck needs to have 0 copies of Thrun, or you're losing on turn 0. And I mean, a lot of your opponent's decks have copies of Shelly in them. If they play Invokes, you need to play 0 Thruns. If they play Edicts, you need to play 0 Thruns. Says the man who insists that Shelly isn't that good. Shelly isn't as good as people make her out to be, but she is as good as people make her out to be against green creatures. Green decks, obviously. She's unbelievably strong against green. And we're talking about green. Red, she's not as good against red as people make out. But she is absolutely backbreaking for green. It doesn't go through Sheoldred, man. The Sheoldred just races you did. The Sheoldred costs 1 mana less and she races this card. This is horrible against Shelly. Shelly's a 8 life swing. This is 4. This is 5, sorry, and it costs more mana. There's no way with this thing, guys. I think, like, even if you were playing Gruul, is this really the best 5 mana card in Gruul? Wouldn't you rather you would rather have the artifact, surely, the one that makes lots of 2/2s? I don't see it, man. I don't see it. Rotpriest. 1 mana, 1/2. When a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. Alright, I need to take another sip of water. In a fair creature-based deck, this card is useless. Useless. If you're playing like mono green Stompy, this is a bad card. If you're playing Gruul aggro, this is a bad card. If you're playing some sort of weird, like, you know, auras deck, or not auras, but like, you know, Drake deck. What are they even called? You know, this stupid guy with Connive with double strike and stuff. Like, when you're targeting your own stuff, I mean, it could be okay, but why? You still got to fucking target 10 cards, man. You got to target, like, because none of the other creatures in your deck, if you're playing that style of deck, are going to have Toxic. They're going to be the ones that, like, draw cards when you target, or grow when you target or something. So you still got to do it fucking 10 times. Chat's coping with green. Bro, like, all of these cards are bad. Every green rare, but some of the green rares are okay cards. They will not, what I mean is, they will not have an impact in standard at all. None of them. Because you've got to remember just how bad green is. Guys, like, you've got to face reality here. Green is absolutely dog shit. It is the single worst colour there has ever been in the time that I've played Magic. Green right now. A few of these cards are okay. None of them are even better than okay. They are not even close to being good enough to take green from the absolute dog shit status in right now to even remotely playable. It's not even close. They are one step along a 100-step path. we've got another 99 steps to go. Green is absolutely unplayable. Like the Rotpriest, if the creature was any other color than green, I would be much higher on it. I'm not saying that the card is bad. I am saying that this card is not enough to make you put a forest in your deck. Absolutely not. Not even close to good enough to make you put a forest in your deck. Thrun, not even close to good enough to make you put a forest in your deck. Contaminator, not even close to good enough to make you put a forest in your deck. And these ones are just a joke. Alright, what else we got? Scrap Gorger. When it becomes tapped, exile target card from a graveyard and put an oil counter on the Armored Scrap Gorger. This is a sweet card, is it? How? This is not good, guys, this Scrap Gorger. The Canker Bloom. 2 mana, 3/2, 1 sack, destroy artifact, enchantment, or proliferate. Random creature. Enters the battlefield with oil counters on it, +1/+1 for each oil counter on it. When another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than Evolve and Adaptive, put an oil counter on Evolve and Adaptive. This one's pretty good at least. This thing is better than the Rotpriest. Decent but specific. But it's just a Pelt Collector, right? Those are... Pelt Collector is not... It's not that specific. It's very easy to... You don't have to make too much of a deck building... You don't have to take too much of a deck building hit to make a Pelt Collector good. Just play some fat creatures, right? It's not that hard. The uncommons are way better than the rares. Yeah, this is a good one. This is at least a creature where you can pay some mana and then maybe like you might get to trade in battle or even beat in battle a creature that costs more mana. But that's not really the... See, that's the problem with a Contaminator, right? Like, yeah, sure, it's pretty big for a 3-drop, but you're never actually going to win in combat against any 4s, and it's so weak to removal. Whereas this is not weak to removal, because it only costs 1 anyway, and it's... You at least have potential to trade up with it, which is what green needs to do. I mean, green to be playable needs to trade up in almost every combat. So the Adaptive is great. This guy sucks. Expand the Sphere. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. Put up to 2 land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest... One thing I will say about the Contaminator is that, yes, it sucks. The one thing it does have going for it is that every other green 3-drop is even worse. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. Put up to 2 land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you put fewer than 2 lands onto the battlefield this way, proliferate a number of times equal to the difference. Incubation Sack enters the battlefield with 3 oil counters. Remove an oil counter, make a 3/3 sleeper. Instant speed bite. I mean, we sometimes play 2 mana removal in green. Some of them are okay, some of them are bad. None of them are really great. This one might be okay, I suppose. It's worse than Ram Through, yeah, but Ram Through is really good though. Noxious Assault, 5 mana, +2/+2 until end of turn. Whenever a creature blocks this turn, its controller gets a poison counter. 7 mana, Toxic 6. The Battle Cheer sucks. The stand is nice. The stand is nice. Return target permanent card from graveyard to hand. Nope. Proliferate. Nope. Token. Nope. 3 mana, 2/2, +2/+2 in Vigilance. Proliferate. Right, let's scan the commons, see if there's anything interesting. Damn, this Borebeast's kinda goated limited card, man. 3 mana, 3/3, draw land. That's nasty. Copper Longlegs. What a name. So green... I'll be surprised if there's any playable green commons. Of all the colours for commons, green is the least likely one to have a playable common, I would say. What's this? Basic land or proliferate for 1. It's not as good as the Bushwhack. Let's calm it down, okay? What's your honest opinion on my green set review? Fair or unfair? That's all I'm asking. Is it fair or is it unfair? I'm not asking you to predict whether I'm correct or incorrect, because we can't do that. Nobody knows the answer. But was I fair or was I unfair? too generous? I think so too. I didn't want people to mold too hard about the truth, but
Ecuador. Ecuador.